So today I'm going to be demonstrating a very simple sewing prep technique, and this one is based on Hotaru. It's called the Firefly Stripe. So our teacher Brian White has prepared the first 3 rows with dots and the first 2 rows with stitches, and it's just a simple running stitch basically that are about a 1/2 inch apart. So the first thing I'm going to do is slip the pattern under here and get it all lined up. The fabric has shrunk just a tiny bit. It's standard kimono width for making everyday kimonos. It's 35 centimeters wide, but it's been washed and prepped. This is always done before, so it's shrunk just a tiny bit. So now with my disappearing marker, I'm going to just quickly add dots. And as you can see, it's fairly accurate, but it doesn't have to be perfect. And part of the beauty of Shibori is that all the white areas which is where your stitches are very organic and unexpected and uneven, and that's what some of the beauty of it is. Now, of course, if you have a light table, you could do this over a light table. You could also tape it up to a window, but because these dots are so big, it's pretty easy to see through. But just another suggestion, or if you're working with a different type of fabric that's not as transparent, feel free to use a light device to help assist with tracing. Okay, so now this piece is ready for sewing. It's a smaller piece in length than our last one, so this one shouldn't take too long to sew. So the first thing I'm going to do is measure my thread, and let's just see what the teacher provided. It's also a double. The reason they're double is because we're going to be pulling these like in an accordion, really tight gather like that. So the thread has to be very strong. So we're doing double with leaving a tail on each end of approximately 2 inches, and with knots on both sides. So I'm going to first, by eye, measure this and get just the right length of thread, and then I'll use that for measuring off multiple strands. So I'm going to start with just 5 or 6 threads at the correct length. I don't want to do the entire batch because there's too much of a risk that it would get tangled, and then I might end up wasting thread that I need that I desperately need for the other projects. I'm using a metal hook type needle threader, which I like because they're strong and they work really well with getting this thick thread through the eye of the needle. And I'm gonna tie this one. It doesn't matter, you could do a single knot. This is a simpler one where we're probably going to pull these and tie them together. We're probably going to be doing something like this where they're tied together. So that's why you don't have to bother with the double knot if you don't want to. So now we go, just follow the sample. So the teacher has started underneath in our sample row. And I'm just going to do a quick long running stitch. Flat on the table seems to work better for to see this and make sure I'm getting the correct holes. And let's just make sure it matches up with the teachers as far as what's on top and what's on the bottom side of the fabric. I'm demonstrating with black thread because it's easier for you to see. But unfortunately, the black has been very hard to get in recent years. So the homework kits most likely include white. So I apologize for that, but we'd love to have black for every project because it's easier to see, but it's just very scarce. And I happen to have one roll left over from a few years ago. Oh, I made a mistake. So I'm going to pull this one out. I started the wrong way at this end, so my stitches are off and they're staggered and it's not going to fold correctly. So I'm going to cut this off, this little knot, and pull it all out and start over again. So those are the kind of mistakes you need to watch out for. And also, even though this one's so simple, the thread has been twisting a lot on me. So I started from the top instead of the bottom and got off to the wrong start. So just you watch yourself on those things. Otherwise, it's going to completely mess up the folding when we go to pull it. Okay, so I finished stitching all of the rows for the Hotaru project, firefly stitch, and I'm just going to go back and double check that all my strands pull freely so we can gather them, and make sure that everything starts and ends the same way. It's very easy to get off, and if have one mistake and then it's not going to gather correctly. So you need to double check your work and make sure everything's free to pull and everything's starting in the same place. And that all looks good. Just checking the instructor's stitches. Okay, so everything looks good. Just checking these. And now this one's ready to take to Japan. So we'll just fold it up neatly and save that one for when we get to the workshop.